Chelsea are being cast as frontrunners for Konstantinos Karetsas, while Manchester United are only at the scouting stage on a Juventus player, and that gap matters more than the badges in the headline. Arsenal are suddenly attached to Araujo and Endrick, Rashford has a so-called Premier League lifeline hanging over him, and Chelsea have an internal leak problem before a semi-final. Skip the surface and the same question keeps showing up. Who is making real moves, and who is letting the rumor machine do public relations for them? You are back with Just Soccer, where transfer headlines get checked before they get believed. Start with Chelsea and Manchester United, because this first live roundup already shows how easily market theater outruns confirmed action. Straight into the noise, this is the kind of live roundup that can make supporters feel a deal is moving before a deal even exists. That is exactly why the wording has to be read carefully. Transfer news live. Man United scout Juventus star as Chelsea lead Konstantinos Karetsas chase. Chelsea being described as leaders for Konstantinos Karetsas sounds stronger than ordinary rumor chatter, but it still is not the same thing as a completed push. The story is about narrative positioning first, not permission to invent the next 5 steps. Manchester United scouting a Juventus player is even earlier in the process. Scouting matters, of course, yet clubs scout constantly, and pretending every check-in becomes a transfer is how fans end up arguing with a fantasy. The report says Chelsea are leading the chase for Konstantinos Karetsas, while Manchester United are scouting a Juventus player. That is the safe frame, and it should stay there. There is nothing here that confirms a fee, official talks, or any final stage movement, so turning it into a near-done transfer would be pure invention with better graphics. Language does most of the work in stories like this. Being called the leader in a chase suggests momentum, while being linked to scouting suggests observation, planning, or a fallback file waiting in a drawer. Supporters often hear those phrases as if they are only one step apart. They are not. One points to a club being ahead in the narrative, the other points to a club still gathering information. The uncomfortable truth is that transfer roundups often grade ambition before any signatures exist. Chelsea get the glow of being first in line, Manchester United get the aura of being active in the background. That can help agents, help clubs, and definitely help the machines that feed transfer obsession every hour. For now, the clean reading is simple. Chelsea are described as leading for Karetsas, and Manchester United are scouting a Juventus player. Everything beyond that remains fog with club badges attached. From one carefully worded link to another, Arsenal step into the rumor stream next. The label on this one matters almost as much as the player name. Arsenal in talks with Araujo, Sunday's gossip. When a story is packaged as Sunday's gossip, that is not decoration. It is a reminder that the information sits in the softest part of transfer coverage, where smoke can travel farther than substance. Arsenal being described as in talks with Araujo may be meaningful, or it may be one of those links that grows because Arsenal plus a new name always generates instant heat. The sensible move is to keep curiosity high and certainty low. BBC Sports gossip column says Arsenal are in talks with Araujo. That is the report, full stop. There is nothing in this package that allows anyone to claim an agreement, a bid, or a medical. And the moment people start adding those details, they are no longer reporting the story, they are decorating it. Arsenal attract this kind of transfer weather almost by default. Every squad question invites 3 different theories, and every theory gets a player attached before lunch. A wider option, a different profile, more depth, more directness, more unpredictability. Pick the tactical theme and a rumor will arrive to match it. That does not make the rumor false. It just means the club exists in a permanent state of market projection. Talks can cover a huge range, from exploratory contact to something more serious that still may never become a formal push. So the responsible takeaway stays narrow. Arsenal are described as being in talks with Araujo, and the item is framed as Sunday's gossip. Until stronger reporting follows, that is a whisper with a famous crest on it, not a move you can pencil into the squad. Now the volume goes up. 2 giant clubs, 1 huge attacking name, and a Marcus Rashford twist in the same package is exactly how a rumor headline tries to dominate the room. Transfer rumors: Man United, Arsenal plot, Endrick bids. Rashford offered Premier League lifeline. This is classic transfer packaging. Huge brands, a star name, and just enough drama to make restraint feel boring. The problem is that a loud headline can still be built on possibility rather than progress. The Rashford part deserves a separate eyebrow raise. A so-called Premier League lifeline is a framing device as much as a development, because it asks you to see a player through crisis and rescue before a clear route has actually appeared. Sports Illustrated is cited in a rumors item linking Manchester United and Arsenal with potential Endrick bids. The same package also frames Rashford as being offered a Premier League lifeline. That is the confirmed shape of the story in this episode. There is no basis here for claiming confirmed bids, specific offer values, or any completed move. What makes this kind of headline powerful is how many emotional buttons it hits at once. Manchester United and Arsenal bring instant scale. Endrick brings glamour and projection. Rashford brings tension, because the word lifeline quietly suggests urgency, reputation management, and a search for a new path. It is efficient headline engineering. Whether it reflects hard market reality is another question entirely. A smarter read separates the moving parts instead of throwing them into one giant swirl. The Endrick angle is about rumored interest from major clubs. The Rashford angle is about a possible route within the Premier League, not a settled outcome. Those are different stages, different pressures, and probably different levels of credibility. At this point, the whole package stays in rumor territory, where ambition, leverage, and wishful thinking often show up dressed in the same suit. After all that transfer smoke, Chelsea provided a different kind of alarm. Sometimes the most revealing club story is not about who might arrive, but about who inside the building cannot keep quiet. Chelsea team news leaks need to stop, McFarlane. When interim boss Callum McFarlane says team news leaks need to stop, he is not making a minor media complaint. He is telling you internal trust has become enough of a problem to mention publicly before a huge match. This kind of issue bleeds into recruitment whether clubs admit it or not. Agents and players hear the same thing supporters hear, and a club that looks messy behind the scenes loses credibility even when the sales pitch sounds polished. Chelsea interim boss Callum McFarlane said team news leaks need to stop, and he added that the issue has been addressed as the club prepares for an FA Cup semi-final against Leeds. Those are the facts we can hold. Nothing in the report ties the leaks to a specific player issue, and nothing confirms sanctions or a formal investigation. Public comments like this matter because leaks are not just annoying. They can affect opposition preparation, fuel targeted speculation around players, and make a staff room look less secure than it should be. Once a coach raises it before a semi-final, the story has already moved beyond private irritation. It becomes part of the competitive environment. Chelsea might prefer this to be a one-day annoyance, but football rarely offers that courtesy. If team information leaks again, every future mention will sound like a verdict on whether the club actually fixed the problem. McFarlane says it has been addressed. The next selection leak, or lack of one, becomes a test before Leeds. Back to the market, Liverpool enter the rumor cycle with a quieter line that could still say plenty if it develops. The key word here is not glamour. It is eyeing. Transfer rumors roundup, Liverpool eye Wharton amid man, as per live roundup feed. Liverpool being described as eyeing Wharton is the sort of phrase that sends supporters straight into tactical diagrams and midfield debates. Calmly read, it remains one of the softest forms of transfer language. If the interest is real, the important clue is profile and timing rather than drama. Liverpool links become meaningful when they point to a structural squad question, not when they simply add another name to the daily rumor buffet. The roundup includes a transfer rumor snippet saying Liverpool are eyeing a player named Wharton. It is presented as market chatter rather than a confirmed move. There is no solid ground here for claiming a fee, an agreement, or a medical, and there is not enough in this package to turn admiration into negotiation. This is where football language can be sneaky. Eyeing someone can mean active appreciation, long-term tracking, or simply the sort of internal discussion every serious recruitment team has all year. Fans hear it and naturally imagine a move gathering speed. Recruitment departments hear it and probably call that Tuesday. What matters more is what a link like this suggests about Liverpool's priorities. When a top club keeps getting attached to a certain type of player, the subtext is usually about balance, control, or protecting the team from its own bad habits. That is the real story to watch. Right now, Liverpool are described as eyeing Wharton in rumor context, and that keeps the file open without pretending the pen is in anyone's hand. Arsenal return, but this time the market is not the center of gravity. Fitness updates can change transfer urgency far faster than any flashy rumor thread ever will. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta gives update on Kai Havertz and Eberechi Eze injuries. The Mirror. Injury news is where squad planning stops being abstract. If Mikel Arteta is giving updates on Kai Havertz and Eberechi Eze, the transfer consequence is not imaginary, because availability shapes what a manager can tolerate in the market. A little caution is still required here. A report relaying injury information is not the same thing as a full official medical bulletin, so anyone pretending to know exact return dates is selling certainty they have not earned. The Mirror report relays Mikel Arteta's update on Kai Havertz and Eberechi Eze. The focus is fitness and near-term availability rather than a transfer development, and that distinction matters. We should not set exact return dates unless the underlying report gives them, and this should not be treated as a full official club medical confirmation. For Arsenal, these updates matter beyond the treatment room. Clubs do not build windows in isolation from fitness patterns. If important attacking options carry uncertainty, recruitment conversations can shift quickly. A rumor that looked random on Friday can suddenly make tactical sense on Sunday once injuries alter the internal picture. There is also a bad habit in transfer discourse that deserves calling out. One injury update lands, and suddenly every linked attacker becomes urgent, every linked creator becomes essential, and every rumor account acts like it predicted the entire summer. Reality is less dramatic and more ruthless. Fitness news changes squad calculus, but it does not magically validate every shiny name drifting around Arsenal this week. That fitness story sits inside a bigger Arsenal mood shift, because results change the emotional temperature of a transfer debate even when the report itself has nothing to do with signings. A narrow win can calm panic and still expose problems at the same time. Arsenal go back above Man City with nervy Newcastle win. Arsenal beating Newcastle 1-0 and moving 3 points above Manchester City matters because success changes the pressure around every squad argument. Winning buys patience, but it can also make one unresolved weakness look even more dangerous later. The word nervy is doing heavy lifting here. A title race victory is valuable, yet the manner of it still leaves clues about strain, control, and what Arsenal cannot afford to ignore when the summer decisions arrive. Sky Sports reports that Arsenal beat Newcastle 1-0 and moved 3 points above Manchester City. That is a match report, not transfer news, and it should stay in that lane. We should not use one result to invent contract calls or to pretend a finished recruitment plan suddenly exists. Even so, the emotional setting around a club always feeds the market story. A nervy win does two things at once. It strengthens belief because the points are massive, and it keeps the spotlight on the moments where control still feels fragile. Recruitment staff watch that kind of game very differently from supporters celebrating the table. They are looking for recurring stress points, not only the final whistle. That is why this result belongs in the episode. Arsenal 1, Newcastle 0 is not a transfer update, yet it absolutely influences how transfer talk is received. A club pushing at the top has less margin for romantic mistakes. If Arsenal are linked with attacking help or added depth, the background pressure is no fantasy at all. It comes from the cost of one weak area being exposed when the stakes are this high. Zoom out one level and the bigger force becomes obvious. The table is the silent producer behind half the transfer noise you hear every week. Premiere League 2025-26 table, latest standings, NBC Sports. Standings are not glamorous, but they explain motive better than many rumors do. Clubs sell ambition, urgency, and patience very differently depending on where they sit. The table also changes leverage. A team chasing Europe, a team trying to protect a title push, and a team slipping below expectations do not enter the market with the same bargaining power or the same tolerance for mistakes. NBC Sports has a latest standings update for the Premiere League 2025-26 table. By itself, that is not a transfer scoop. Still, league position quietly shapes the behavior behind many of the stories we have just discussed, because clubs do not recruit in a vacuum and they definitely do not brief the media in one either. Every line in the table changes somebody's mood. A club rising starts selling momentum, a club falling starts chasing a name that can calm supporters or distract from structural flaws. Near the top, even small depth issues become bigger because the next season's margin for error shrinks. Lower down, urgency can turn ordinary interest into overpayment. That is how standings move from background information to transfer fuel. So when a rumor appears, the useful question is not only whether the player fits, ask what the table is doing to the club's nerve. Position affects urgency, urgency affects leverage, and leverage affects everything from price to posture. The standings do not tell you who will sign whom, but they do tell you which clubs can least afford a summer built on bluff. That is the real shape of tonight's market. Chelsea are described as leading one chase, Manchester United are scouting rather than signing, Arsenal are juggling gossip, injury context, and title race pressure, Liverpool are in the familiar gap between admiration and action, and Chelsea's league problem may reveal more about club stability than any glamorous transfer link. Keep the names in view, but keep the motive even closer. On Just Soccer, that is usually where the truth slips out.